Hey, what's good, everyone? It's Kyle Henderson along with Andrew Bone. Hope you're off to a great March. Alabama football just released the practice schedule, so we're gearing up for spring football. But first, Bone, what's up, man? How you been?
Been good, man. Been good. Been kind of slow lately.
Man, we're like, like dogs want to be with dogs. Like we want to like cover the team and stuff. So I'm like itching to the practice schedule. So we'll have tons of coverage coming your way on BamaInsider.com. But want to get right into it. Don't want to play around. Alabama, after a relentless offensive tackle is transfer from Vanderbilt. Kind of give us the backstory. You posted a great interview. You were able to catch up with his pops. Give us the latest on the rundown right here.
Yeah. We've been talking about Tyler Steen for the last, I guess, maybe 3 or 4 weeks as a potential target for Alabama. Alabama reached out to him after he jumped into the transfer portal back in late January. And we've been talking about how Alabama was interested in a high quality offensive lineman in the transfer portal. We weren't sure who it was going to be, but Tyler Steen was the guy that they really, really kind of zoned in on and, really started pushing hard for him. I talked to his father earlier today, and he was telling me, the big part about Alabama with Tyler Steen is Eric Wolford. Now they didn't really know Eric Wolford before he joined Alabama staff, but once he joined Alabama staff, he has been, as the headline says, relentless in his pursuit. It was funny. His dad told me, he said he is what I call the closer. That's something Alabama fans probably want to hear
Mhm.
when it comes to somebody who's out there recruiting for the Crimson Tide. So, really good relationship there. Tyler Steen, 3 year starter at Vanderbilt on the offensive front, started the last 2 years at left tackle. People who followed, our show and followed his recruitment over the course of the last month, they know all that information. But this is a guy that has high interest in Alabama. He's going to make his trip to Tuscaloosa on March the 25th. He's going to be in town all weekend with his dad. Not sure if his mom's going to make it just yet, but his dad at least is going to make a trip to Tuscaloosa with him. And that's actually going to be his last visit before he makes a decision. They're hoping to get everything finalized late March, maybe early April. But Alabama's going to be the last visit. He is going to visit NC State this weekend, then try to decide where he's going to go next week, maybe Penn State or LSU. Those are two schools that are still in the running for him. Now, USC, UCLA also showing a lot of interest, trying to get him out to California for a weekend, but you just never know if time's going to be on their side. We'll just have to wait and see. But as of right now, it certainly looks like Alabama, NC State, Penn State, LSU, really fighting it out. After having a conversation with his father today, I mean, I don't want to say Alabama's in the driver's seat, but I think they're going to have a really good chance, especially once he visits campus here in the next couple weeks and sees everything, spends time with the coaching staff. But knowing that Alabama's really pushing for you, and their development on the offensive front, especially with Evan Neal potentially being the number one overall draft pick next month, that's something that really speaks volumes to kids. Especially guys that are going to be coming in, for the most part, mainly just for a year. I mean, he might just be at Alabama for 1 year and then go off to the NFL. But I think that's something that's really eye opening to him. Alabama wants him. There's a position up for grabs. I think Alabama's, like I said, I don't want to say in good shape, but there's certainly a top contender there. So we'll see how it all unfolds over the course of the of this next month. But I think Alabama's got a great chance to land Tyler Steen, which would be their fourth or not grad transfer, but he would be a grad transfer. The others are just transfers, but would be the fourth transfer for Alabama if he ends up transferring to the Tide to go along with Elias Ricks and Jermaine Burton, and also Jameer Gibbs. So that'll be four really outstanding players if they can get Steen on board later this month.
Here with Andrew Bone of BamaInsider.com, talking about Tyler Steen, a grad transfer from Vanderbilt. So definitely keep tabs on Bama Insider. Follow Andrew Bone, and we appreciate you right here, Alabama Football on YouTube. Bone, let's talk about Joenel Aguero. He recently named his top 7, and if you can kind of give us the backstory and kind of where things stand as we enter the month of March.
Yeah, this is one of the top safeties in the country. Originally out of, well, not originally, but played at IMG Academy during his junior season, originally from Massachusetts, and has a lot of high interest in the SEC. Obviously, being at IMG Academy last year, got a chance to check out some programs, but it's kind of a lot of the same schools. I mean, Alabama, Georgia, Texas A&M, Florida. You have Ohio State that's also in the mix. Miami now, LSU is also in contention. As of right now, I think it will end up coming down. If he plays in the SEC, I think Alabama, Georgia really have a strong chance with him. Ohio State also very high on his list. He plans on returning to Tuscaloosa at some point this spring. Not sure yet. Maybe in March, maybe in April. Still trying to work out some details. Visited Alabama for Junior Day back in late January. And after he visited, it almost came across as Alabama was in the driver's seat. But, as many people know, when you go on these visits, I mean, most people aren't going to have a bad visit. If you're a top recruit, if you're really wanted by the university, you're going to have a great trip. You're going to have a good time. The only kids that you typically don't have good times are the ones that coaches don't really show much interest in when they visit. A guy like Joenel Aguero is somebody that Alabama really wants, so they certainly showed him a lot of love during his trip to Tuscaloosa. Alabama already has 2 defensive back commitments, as we know. Jahil Hurley and Elliott Washington, 2 guys who are going to actually be back in Tuscaloosa this weekend. We'll talk a little bit more about the weekend here in a minute. But with Joenel Aguero being a safety, with Alabama's numbers, they're going to have to make some hard decisions over the course of the next few months in terms of who they're really going to go after, who they're really going to push for. Joenel Aguero is certainly one of those guys that they are already pushing for, that they really want in this class. Will he wait around and make a decision later on in the summer, maybe in the fall, or will he make a decision maybe this spring or the early part of the summer? We'll kind of wait and see what he plans on doing, but I certainly expect him back in Tuscaloosa at least one more time, maybe 2. He visited Alabama last summer. Like I said, was in Tuscaloosa back in January, so he's familiar with the campus, really likes the coaching staff, has a great relationship with Travaris Robinson, Coach T-Rob, who just joined the staff pretty much a couple weeks ago, and that's certainly a guy that is really pushing for him. So we'll see. I mean, it says on there 100% Georgia. That may be one prediction on there, so I wouldn't really put much stock into that. Even though he could end up at Georgia, I wouldn't put much stock into these predictions that are on a lot of these websites right now, because it's still very early in the process, and a lot of these kids are taking a lot of visits over the course of the next couple months.
I wanted to ask you about Robby Washington. We talked about this during pre-show, and recently I think dropped what was it, his top 4. What's kind of the latest, and let's kind of get to Robby Washington. Seems like a very intriguing prospect.
Yeah, this is a definitely a guy that Alabama has really recruited heavily for the last several months, and you see him as a 4-star. He's not even rated in the 250. I think, and to be honest with you, I don't even think he was a 4-star a couple weeks ago. I think he just moved up to 4-star. He was a 3-star recruit, but don't let that fool you. This is a guy that Alabama has really liked for a long time. He camped in Tuscaloosa last summer back in June. Alabama's been going after him ever since. I don't know what why he's ranked where he is, but in terms of being on Alabama's board, this is a guy who's pretty high on Alabama's recruiting board at the wide receiver position. Alabama talks to him all the time. Holman Wiggins leading the charge there, and has really talked to him just about every single day. But put out his top 4 earlier today: Alabama, Miami, Florida State, Georgia. He hasn't been back to Tuscaloosa since last summer, so biggest thing is getting him back on campus, which he plans on doing. Plans on being back in Tuscaloosa either this month or next month. So getting him back on campus is going to be critical, and certainly, I think Alabama's got a great chance with him, but with Mario Cristobal down there in Miami, and him being growing up as a Miami fan, you just don't know how that's all going to play out. But Alabama is certainly an attractive place for any wide receiver, regardless of where they live, regardless of who's coaching in their area. Alabama going to be a top attraction for any wide receiver. And Robby Washington, one of the best in the country. And I think he's going to make a decision before his senior season. That's why he's kind of gone ahead and gone out there, put out his top 4, narrowed it down to those 4 schools, and going to visit those 4 during the spring, probably take those official visits during the summer, and then make that decision.
Bone, we got a big boy here in Tuscaloosa. Wilkin Formby. I mean, this dude is a straight monster. Lives, very close proximity to the area that we're at. In fact, Caden goes to the same middle school, Northridge. So, I mean, he sees him around. You see this guy at the gas station, 6'8", 300 pounds, tons of offers. Well, what's kind of the latest right here as we look to Formby, who recently visited Alabama?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, very big kid, 6'8", over 300 pounds. I mean, just a absolute monster. Definitely somebody that Alabama's interest has really increased over the course of the last few months. They've evaluated him during the season. He came in for junior day back in January. Alabama ended up offering him at junior day and has really been in contact with him ever since. I talked to him about a week ago, and he said that he's been talking a lot to Coach Wolford. Mm-hmm. And then the other day on Tuesday, when the dead period ended, he ended up making a trip over to Tuscaloosa or over to campus. He's in Tuscaloosa, so it was a pretty quick trip for him. So easy visit for him. So he went over there, watched the fourth quarter program, spent a little bit of time with Coach Wolford, watched position meetings, got a chance to talk to Coach Saban a little bit. So this is a guy that, being in Tuscaloosa, growing up a fan, getting a lot of interest from Alabama, I think it's going to be hard to imagine him going somewhere else. But he is keeping his options open. He does want to enjoy the recruiting process. He does want to take some more spring visits, some official visits this summer. But in the end, I'd be surprised if we didn't see Wilkin Formby on Alabama's commitment list.
Here with Andrew Bone of BamaInsider.com. My name is Kyle Henderson. Definitely hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe, Alabama football right here on YouTube. Bone, we have a really big list of junior day visitors, and kind of lead off with McClain, and talk about some other players, Nyckoles Harbor, Malik, Bryant, Peter Woods, Tony Mitchell, Jalen Hell, and kind of get your take on what looks like a very intriguing weekend.
Yeah, it is. I mean, this is certainly a big weekend for Alabama. I think it's big in many respects. You got a chance to bring in top kids from not only just the Southeast, but really throughout the country. Some of your bigger name guys, including McClain, is the #1 cornerback in the country. At a position that this is a priority position for Alabama in this recruiting class is cornerback. Now, you already have one elite player already on board in Jahil Hurley, who's going to be that next guy to jump on board. That's going to be kind of a pure cornerback. And I think McClain, certainly a guy that Alabama has their eyes on, that they would love to add. You have T-Rob on campus now, who has a great relationship with McClain already. So, just getting him back on campus, getting him around the coaches, that's going to be big for him, because he visited Georgia last, before the dead period began. He visited Georgia late January. Georgia wasn't even in it with him. They were 6th or 7th on his list. Now many people consider Georgia as the front runner in his recruitment. So he can be blown away by Alabama this weekend. And, Alabama's been in that top 5, been in that top group for a long time with him. Can they really get in it, be in that top 2, top 3, potentially #1 for him? That's what Alabama is going to be trying to do this weekend. Nyckoles Harbor is one of the best athletes in the country. I think one of the biggest questions with him is, what position is he going to play? This is a 6'5", 6'6", 230-pound kid that has been timed at a 10.3 in the 100 meters. I mean, that's faster than anybody that Alabama signed in last year's recruiting class. You think I got about guys like Kendrick Law or Isaiah Bond, Shaz Preston. I mean, it was one of the Kobe Prentice, one of the fastest classes that we've seen in quite a while. And this guy's 6'5", 220, and faster than.
Sorry to interrupt, Bone, but Nyckoles Harbor, he seems like that guy that you would create on NCAA football when you're just trying to load up. You know what I'm saying? And like son, look at this. I mean, 6'5", 220, and the dude's got speed. I mean, it loves it. So continue.
I mean, he's an edge rusher. I mean, he had 16 sacks during his junior season. Also plays a little bit of tight end. I mean, he had 5 touchdowns as a tight end. So, really trying to figure out what position he's going to play. Now, an interesting part about Nyckoles Harbor, interesting fact, is his father actually went to Alabama A&M. So there's a little bit of a connection to the state of Alabama. So I'm very intrigued to see, what Alabama is going to do with him in terms of, what position they're really going to talk to him about playing, and how Alabama is really going to get involved in his recruitment. But it seems like Alabama is certainly a top contender. But this is his first trip to Tuscaloosa, so we'll see how things go this weekend. As far as some of these other guys that are going to be in, and you can go to Bama Insider, we have the complete list of players coming into town this weekend, and we'll be adding names kind of throughout the weekend. But you got Malik Bryant, who is the best outside linebacker in the country. I think he can play either or. He can play outside or inside and have success. I mean, this is one of the best high school football players in the country, out of Jones High School in Orlando. Played his junior season at IMG Academy, so familiar with a few guys already on Alabama's campus. And those guys like Tyler Booker are going to be recruiting Malik throughout his weekend visit. If I'm thinking about one kid that might make a decision this weekend, this is going to be an interesting one because it's probably going to ruffle some feathers. But I'm watching Ryqueze McElderry, the Georgia offensive line commitment out of Anniston. Matt Luke just stepped down as Georgia's offensive line coach about 2 weeks ago. And Ryqueze has made a couple trips to Tuscaloosa since his commitment to Georgia. There's been a lot of speculation that he's eventually going to flip to Alabama. He's coming to Tuscaloosa this weekend. He's got a great relationship with Eric Wolford, it's funny, about every offensive line guy that I've talked to, every offensive line target for Alabama that I've talked to over the course of the last couple of weeks, all of them had a prior relationship with Coach Wolf. He either recruited them while they were at Kentucky, while he was at Kentucky, or in Ryqueze McElderry's case, he started recruiting him when he was at South Carolina a couple years ago. So Ryqueze has known him for a while. That was the very first coach that he ever talked to, and now he's at Alabama. Alabama, was McElderry's favorite school growing up, and now they're trying to flip him. So that's somebody that I would watch pretty closely this weekend to see if something were to happen. It may not happen on Saturday, may not happen on Sunday, but you may see something maybe early next week in terms of what he's going to do. Maybe he might just reopen his recruitment, might just flip to Alabama. We'll see how it all goes, but it's a great weekend for Alabama in terms of bringing kids on campus, getting them, used to these new coaches that are on campus, getting them, some FaceTime. A lot of these guys haven't been to Alabama before. Some have, some haven't been since last summer. Some went to camp and they worked out. Some may have gone to a football game during the fall, but you didn't really get a chance to, sit down with coaches and spend a lot of time with them. You may have gotten hey, how you doing? Good to see you. How's your season going? This time you get a chance to sit down with them, sit down in Coach Saban's office, get to ask him questions, have him ask you questions, talk to the assistant coaches, kind of figure out what their plan for you is moving forward. And also kind of figure out, is this a school that, I'm interested in? And am I going to come back for an official visit down the road? So we saw the success that Alabama had with a lot of guys on their first junior day back in January. Didn't see a lot of commitments out of it, but we saw a lot of guys that, have Alabama now at the top of their list plan on coming back throughout the spring. So this is a big weekend for Alabama to really make a strong impact with a lot of these guys, moving forward.
Stay tuned to Bama Insider. Definitely go to the website, check out all the coverage regarding Junior Day. He's Andrew Bone. I'm Kyle Henderson right here on Alabama Football on YouTube. Hit the thumbs up if you can get this video to 500 likes. We really appreciate it. Put the timestamps inside this video so you can go through kind of chapter by chapter to recap what we talked about right here on this recruiting show. March 3rd, Alabama's first football practice. Looking at the schedule right here will be on March 11th. Then they will take a spring break period. And then the second practice will be on March 21st. We'll have Nick Saban on March 11th right here on our YouTube channel. Have a great rest of your week. We'll catch you soon right here on Alabama Football on YouTube.